I had to make sure the questions were really specific. So my first one was, one of the biggest challenges you gave me was reading the copy so I could hear myself speak. Right. And that was like one of the first tasks you gave me. How have I grown from then to now?
Well, I think your enunciation and diction has gotten better, but it's something that you just clearly just have to work on. And one of the things I would do is, aside from practice, which is really the big thing, you might even check with this kind of voice coach. It kind of gives some pointers to what you might want to do, that kind of thing. I think what I said to you was generally what I tell people in terms of reading is to practice a lot. After a while, it gets certainly a lot easier, and the enunciation expression can get better. And then if you have issues in terms of, say, stumbling on some of the copy, one of the things you can do is to go ahead and take a few 3 or 4 paragraphs and read very, very quickly, just over and over and over again. And then when you start to read regularly, you'll find that it pushes your eyes faster across the page. The other thing is for expression. I would certainly use something like editorials or op-eds, that sort of thing. Read those aloud, because they're kind of designed to have some kind of emotional, output in terms of what they're saying, what they're writing, that sort of thing. So that's a thing I think I would, in terms of concentrating on. And your voice is fine. It's just a matter of like developing the diction and enunciation. Because one of the things you want to keep in mind is that the more talents you got, or the more skills you've got, then the more jobs, obviously, that are open. Or if something comes up and they say, oh, gee, I need somebody to cover so-and-so, you have the skills ready to go. So that's one of the things I guess I would say.
Okay. I think another challenge, as you know, is the field reporting.
Yes.
So, how have I grown since the first time you gave me that task to now? Like, even, I guess, till Tuesday when I...
Yeah, right, with the... no, I think you're getting over your shyness, which, it just is. And a lot of us are shy, but you just kind of, like, overcome it, and you can take on some other persona, as it were. So, no, I think that's improved. And I was able to hear some of your questions, as I went through some of the material from the other day. And I think the only thing that struck me was that I think don't be satisfied with the first answer. If somebody's got to run off and do something, that's all you got. But then, make sure that maybe you ask another question or two, okay. No matter how articulate they may be, that you then say, and that way you can draw out very specific responses to particular issues, or you might find that they will express themselves differently and better in a second or third take, as it were, in terms of the question. So that's one of the things I think I would develop is don't be satisfied with the first answer. Go on and ask a few more questions. Even if in your own mind you think, well, maybe he's already answered it, go ahead and follow up, because you might be able to get something better. So, but that's what I would say about that.
Okay. So you're... since I also write the copies for you to read on air. Has my writing changed from the first time to, I think the last time I wrote for you was right before the drive?
Right. It's better. I think one of the things I would recommend is that when you're writing, you want to probably drop in a few specific, say, numbers, like if something costs something, I think we talked about that, or if there's a certain amount of people it affects, or a percentage or whatever, and I would drop those in judiciously, every once in a while, and it gives the reader and the listener sort of a sense, a picture of what it is that you're talking about. So if you're talking about, say, changes, for instance, they're going to provide money for this trail thing, or I guess beach replenishment stuff. Up in Delaware, and it's good to say, oh, by the way, it's going to be $19.8 million, and that gives people a sense of the amount of money. So always when you're looking for it, not a lot of numbers, because then they get cluttered, but just a few to kind of give that kind of broad sense. And that may mean the story you have in front of you may not have that number. If it doesn't have that number, then you just got to go out and search for it and make sure that you've got that number. So sometimes you got to sort of go beyond just what's in front of you in terms of the copy. So that's one of the things I think I would recommend.
Okay. How receptive do you feel I am of the challenges you give me? Like, could my attitude be more positive, or?
No. I think the only thing I would say, is, and this is true like of this business, although I think it's true of just about any business, is you gotta like really, have a lot of sort of self-initiative. So if something doesn't work out, then you keep at it until you find what it is. I mean, you tend to do that, but what was it? I think it was the agriculture story. Now I know you went through some websites and so on, and there was like one particular piece I think came out of Farmers something or other. I would have printed that out because that's sort of a good, but then I would have gone further and printed out a bunch of other things.
Okay.
So don't be satisfied with the first thing that seems like it's complete. I mean, unless you just don't have enough time. If you don't have, there's a time frame issue. But if you have a little more time, keep on looking and print. And that way, then you've got a whole range of pieces that have information. Some may have information that the other one doesn't have, something more specific, something a little more general. So it gives you a fuller picture. So I would try to get beyond, just simply researching, just say researching it with, say, one thing. In other words, you should never be satisfied. I mean, one of the things you'll find that when you cover stories, generally speaking, you will know far more about the story than what you're able to report on the air, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, and then and as you cover more stories and learn more things, then you're able to bring some of that into your story. There was an example this morning where we have a story about Doug Gansler and the Tea Party, and Martin O'Malley said that he had no comment, and it was important to know that O'Malley has backed Gansler's rival for the nomination. That was important to put in, even though I think it was a newspaper story that I saw did not contain that fact. Well, that was an important fact, and you put that in. So, or when we talk about not being satisfied, as I scanned the papers for that particular story, one of the things I found was that there was a liquor industry organization that puts out anti-drinking, anti-driving ads, and they are pulling Gansler's 30-second spot because of this issue. Now, that wasn't something in the original story, but when I kind of checked around in the newspapers, I found that, so I put that in. So it's, again, looking out and beyond just simply the thing that's in front of
you. Okay. How reliable have I been since the first day? Is there something I can improve on concerning?
No, you've been really, no. Even though you didn't come back with it. No, but I know. Sometimes. But no, you haven't.
The first time I came back with one
of shame,
that was the walk of shame. It really was. I did not want to hand you that recorder back.
So anyway, no, I don't have any complaints.
Okay. I guess this is kind of redundant, but I said my general attitude during my times here. Could I be more positive at work?
No, I think you're fine.
Okay. And how well do I work with you and the others here at the station?
I think fine.
Okay. Okay. Is it just there's no areas of improvement you see?
No, I mean certainly feel free to check back. If there's got something done or something like that. I mean that's fine with me. But I mean beyond that, no.
Okay. And how well did I handle the task of calling around I think we kind of talked about this, but calling around for your interviewees to do the phone interview. I know sometimes it's a challenge to get a hold of people, but how well do you think I handle that challenge you give me?
No, I think you did. I think you actually did pretty well. Again, the only recommendation is that, when you're calling people, try to figure out either when they're going to be back or set yourself a time limit. So let's say, for instance, you might leave a message, say at 10 o'clock, not knowing when they're going to be back. Then I would then check back maybe a couple of hours later, an hour later, just sort of keep on tracking it. Or, for example, if you're talking to somebody their secretary, for instance, find out when they're going to be back, or do they have a cell phone number, for example, or is there somebody else that they might recommend, or so it's this sort of keep on pushing to get whatever you think you can get. Or if one avenue doesn't pan out, then start thinking about, well, who else could I talk to about this story that might illuminate it, might say something or give me something to the story. So always never be satisfied with say, oh, okay, well, I stop here. It's sort of like a shotgun approach in which you just put out a bunch of calls. I mean, you may not get a lot. When I was in Washington, when we did analysis pieces, I would put out like maybe 10 or 15 calls to analysts, right, because they may not be in their office. And then I would get back like about maybe 6 of them, which was fine, because then when we had plenty of analysts to do the story. So again, it's just sort of like trying to get out there and then sort of your net, as it were, and then you bring it back in. So I mean, that's that just sort of, I mean, I think you picked up on that, but that's something to sort of keep in mind. And never be satisfied, say, okay, I can't get this. Because imagine if you will, that your editors told you, well, we need to get hold of somebody for this story and we need it by 3. Then no way are you going to stop. You're going to keep on until you find somebody, right, or a group of people, whatever. So keep that in mind.
Okay. And I just had any other open comments that I guess I didn't address in the questions I asked.
No, I mean, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah. Thanks,
Okay.
Dawn. Thanks.